regular board meeting to order. Roll call shows everybody is present. There's no agenda changes that I know of. And we have consent agenda. We have the September 13, 2018 regular board meeting minutes, licensing permits for Samantha Franco and Celia Welch. I assume that those have been approved. And the presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. There's nothing that I want removed out of there. We need a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. We'll now open the public hearing for a special assessment hearing for Brookwood Drive. If anybody wants to speak, please give your name and address for the record. Yes, sir.
Jim Moore, 806 Hickory Street. So I looked over the stuff that was released this week, and I just want to, remind everybody here that we have a very unique situation with this assessment, right? Because of the extended timeline and then the special assessment rules, and that it's a project that nobody in our neighborhood really wanted, nobody really needed. There's no demand for this project, right? So we have presented our issues with it and our arguments for and against, and we went through a good faith negotiation with the committee, and there was some give on both sides. But there's a couple of things I wanted to point out was that I did look through the documents that were released, and I didn't see a couple of things. One of the things that we discussed was that in the committee, in the recommendations, was that the village promised to reduce the costs as much as possible during the talks with the residents and the representatives, right? Part of that was a contribution of $10,000, and the terms used were would like to under-promise and over-deliver. And I'm not sure I saw any of that in the documentation for the assessment values that were released. And I'm curious as to if we did that, if we went back to see how much there was, because we had started at 10, but I know we talked about a different number in the committee, and it publicly released was we were thinking about 10,000 out of the Public Works Department. I also wonder, from doing some math, and I don't claim to understand everything that Diane released when she was here, but when we were talking about this, it was going to be if the lots were bought from Parkers, the village could control the cost of the build or the properties that were going to be built on there and increase the tax revenue. And I know that the numbers were going to be released based on what was told to us. The assessment per lot reduction was about $700 per lot. Okay, and I'm fine with that. That's where it was. And I know that they went to Parkers and made an offer for the property, and it wasn't accepted. But then if we revisit the $10,000 that was, or more, or whatever is available from the village, from the Public Works, or from anywhere that we could find, which was the gist of our agreement. If we could revisit that, because if you put in $10,000, that's a little bit less than $200 per lot that's going to be reduced, right? So if you could take that same $10,000 and say go back to Parkers and try to see if there's some room for negotiation somewhere, because the $700 on that lot, $700 if that property is purchased per lot reduction is way more than the $200 that could be applied from that $10,000. So in effect, what I'm saying is, if they didn't like the offer that was there, maybe there's some room to negotiate and get a much larger reduction in the per lot assessment than if the village just contributes the money. I'm not saying don't, if the money's available, as we discussed, don't contribute it, but it should be examined as to where it can get the most bang for the buck. Because if you're going to get $700 here or $200 here, well, you could take that $200, take that home, put it over here, and end up with $500 off, and get everybody back down to a $1,000 assessment. I think that would be much more palatable than the numbers that were released, and I understand the numbers that were released were a worst-case scenario, and the expectation is always that they're going to be less. but there's never a guarantee that they could be more, depending on what happens. So, that's all I have to say, but I think that somebody should really look at that and see if there is a contribution that can be made somewhere from the village funds, and if it can, where can it best be applied to reduce the burden on the individual residents. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Well, that part of that reduction is something that was going to be discussed with the board. I don't know if we were going to do it tonight or at another.
We can do it
meeting,
tonight,
but-
and I think he's correct. We did promise that. And he's also correct in pointing out that that includes everything, including the kitchen sink, the assessment. Certainly the board has options, but we've been paying bills towards this project starting last year with the topo. McMahon invoices all this time. Utilities been paying those. What's to stop you from saying the assessment can start when the project starts? Or you can do whatever you want. I mean, you're the board. So you can kick out all these fees. Anything that's been paid up until this time, yeah, you can choose a point in time, or you could go all the way back to the beginning. So,
It's a public hearing. I think it's appropriate Carl answer. I mean, you
Yeah.
can do it there or out there, and same thing. with-
I know I'm looking at it too, but I'm
How they
actually
limit it.
reinforcing what Jim said.
No,
You're just a point in time.
It's just not a conversation.
Yeah, just don't talk back to me. Well, we can choose a point in time. We can go all the way back to the topo, way back at the beginning. We can include in all that in the assessment. Right now, all the contingencies are in the assessment.
Yes.
Pretty much everything, like I said, worst case scenario. Or we can just continue to pay these invoices that trickle in and exempt them from the assessment. Whatever you want to do.
And my understanding is that the assessment doesn't actually, the bills don't actually go out until the project is
Yeah, it'll be,
either underway or completed, one of the two. So there's time, and I'm not asking for a delay, I don't want anybody to misinterpret this. There's time to look at where the funds are going to go, how much funds can be contributed, and where they're going to go to have the greatest impact. And so there's time for that. And it doesn't have to be done today, and I know negotiations take a long time, and budgets take a long time to figure out, so I'm not asking, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking for any delays or any changes or anything like that. I understand things are moving forward, but I'm just saying, there's a couple of things that, that can still come into play and help to foster the impression that the board is doing everything they can, like we negotiated, to try to reduce our expenditures.
And like I said, that will be a discussion with the
Okay.
board, either tonight or at a future meeting. It will be discussed. Was there any other comments? Yes, sir.
Tom Banker, 203 Greendale Road. Just want to reiterate what Jim said, that we're going to end up footing, a lot of the cost, and once again, it brings no value whatsoever to us, and I want to thank, the people that have been working on this, and it took a while, but we started to work together on this, and I thank the ones on the committee for doing that and trying to find a solution, but like I said, it's not a value to us, and so we would just ask you to try to help us any way we can. Feel the ideas that Jim had, but anything you can do would certainly be appreciated. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Brian Parker, you want my address, Hortonville, whatever, the developer. I represent my parents who are developing own that property up there. I just want to get on the record again one more time so that everybody understands, we have no desire for this to happen. You're probably too far into it now to cancel it. One thing that kind of catches me a little bit is, and more I thought about this is, you guys created a TID district out there and included our property in that TID district without ever contacting us about being included in that. Fine. Commonwealth obviously got some some kind of incentive to build there. Where is Parker's incentive or reimbursement or help to develop? I see our assessment's $100,000 or $105,000. That seems pretty steep. Why, if you're helping Commonwealth develop their property, who come from nowhere, have no ties to the community whatsoever, they build these things all over the country. Where is Parker's help and to develop, why are we taking $105,000 here after we built you a 54-lot subdivision, paid for everything, handed it to the village so you could collect taxes off all the property in there. Now we come down to these final last 4 lots, and you're gonna stick us with a $105,000 assessment. Where's our help? I guess that's, I don't know how you can answer that, if you can with the meeting the way it is or whatever, but it seems kind of steep. But, and I understand you guys told us a long time ago it would be right around $100,000. So I just want to be on the record. I mean, we're looking for more help to develop them. For all the residents in the subdivision, you guys understand, we don't want this. We don't want this to happen. I mean, we're going to do the sewer and water work in there anyways through the contract. I mean, it makes no difference to us. I don't want this to go, to go through. So do with it what you want.
As part of your comment for help, there's nothing on the table to be discussed about that at this time, but it could be something maybe in future.
I just want to
could be
point out,
discussed.
whatever we help them, we gotta equally help them.
Right.
They're part of it.
Right, I would hope that, yeah. But man, I guess that catches me as kind of funny that, I don't know how that whole TID district thing went down because we were never contacted that was going on. Once we find out we're included in the 4 lots, the 4 lots are included in that TID district without any knowledge of ours ever that was happening. And, I mean, if you're helping them, why aren't you helping us? I guess that's all I got to say, and thank you for any consideration you might put that way. I mean,
Is there anybody else? If there's nobody else that wants to speak at the public hearing, I will close the public hearing and move on with the meeting. Pre-registered citizens to be heard.
Jim Mueller, 806 Hickory Street.
Already said
Tom Baker.
Same here.
Brian Parker.
yeah, we're good.
Okay, then we'll move on to committee reports, senior activities committee.
We had a meeting, let's see, last week, and planning the Senior Autumn Fest. Did you bring those flyers, Rich? Great, thank you. Senior Autumn Fest is scheduled for Wednesday, October 24th. Thanks, Jane. And what it is, it's an opportunity for seniors in our community to come and have lunch. We're having a speaker from the Veterans Service Office. His name is David Holst, to talk about veteran services in Outagamie County. And it isn't just for veterans, it's for everyone. And I'm sure most of us know veterans, we can pass the word on. But we are charging $20 a table for vendors. There's a number of vendors listed here that will be in attendance. So seniors can access services, learn about services available to them, planning ahead. And then lunch, opportunity to talk to the vendors, and hopefully good outreach in the community. So that's happening on the 24th here from 12 to 3.
I believe that's our 4th one.
Yes, I think so. 3rd or 4th.
And it's been well attended in the past. So. Anything else?
Just coordinating services with the library too, as far as delivering books to a couple of the assisted living facilities in the community as well.
Any questions or comments for Pat? Now we'll move on to Economic Development Committee. Do you want to take that, Dave, or should I?
Absolutely. Either way, I can take it. The biggest news moving forward, it's also in my recap on mine. the committee met, and we're moving forward with two projects. One was kind of put the rest at 120 West Main Street. I actually, for those of you who don't know who I am, a newly appointed administrator, but I also have a strong background in construction and maintenance. So myself and Carl, we toured the building, did a nice walkthrough, met with the lady who owns the property with her fiance. Came to a consensus in the economic development committee meeting that some of the work was done to complete her part of the agreement. We had some discrepancy with the painting that took place. So at that point, the board elected to reward her for the $7,977 and did not reward her for the $2,000. At that point, she solicited the extra money that is on the table to the balance of $12,000. So there is remaining $4,023 that she will be trying to get upon completion of the rest of her project. The money that was dispersed this week should suffice with completing what she says about 75% of what she wanted to get done. The problem she has right now is finding a contractor. She had to basically put her contractors on hold. They've taken other work. Time is of the essence because she wants to do a brick or block facade, not knowing if she's going to get people in place in time to beat the weather. So we have a 120-day notice in force. If she's not able to complete that work in 120 days, she's going to be in contact with me, and then we'll come in front of the committee and offer extension if needed. So the other one was newly instigated at 204 West Main Street. Same thing. That gentleman is going to be rehabbing the front of his facade. It's actually 3 suites. Sign permit went through this week also, and he has contractors in place. I think you're going to see movement on that property ready next week. So I think that's it. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I may. You referred to the fact that the board approved the payment of $7,977?
Yes.
Yes, that was the two.
Well,
No.
that's
Correct me.
coming to the board
sir.
for.
The committee.
The committee.
I think you mentioned the board, I don't recall that.
It was, economic development committee.
Committee, yes.
Should that have been a board approval, that amount?
It's supposed to come through.
Did it happen?
No.
It's written where it doesn't, it says the Economic Development Committee is the one that approves it or denies.
Without board approval?
Correct.
Okay. Just so we're clear.
Any other questions or comments on the Economic Development Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to the library board.
We met on Tuesday, continued discussion regarding budget that was submitted. Prior to that, we also are discussing storage options because the library is splitting at the seams as far as storage, so we're hopefully coordinating things with Carl as far as moving some books to other locations. That's about all I got.
Any questions or comments for Pat on the library board? Hearing none, we'll move on. There is no unfinished business, so we'll move right into new business. Purchase of fire department air packs. Where are we at this?
I have what has been put in front of me from the chief, so the correspondence that I have, and I'm going to ask for Carl's assistance on this. They did receive a quote from Republic. It's a 5-alarm fire service to the tune of $148,309 for the air packs, with options on financing. Not sure what the direction the board wants to take on it, but that is about as much as I know. I have solicited, and I've talked to the chief twice in the past week. I basically came up with 2 grants. I'm working on some grant work to try to offset the cost. I have given him those outlaying the initial form work. The deadline is the 29th. Not knowing enough about their terminology and what they do at the fire department level, I asked him for the initial information and that I would pen the grant. Hopefully we can help offset the costs.
I can help a little bit with this one, and Jack, if I fumble a little bit, jump in. We have to have a purchase order to them by sometime mid-November. Payment does not have to be made until the fire packs are received and
February, sometime
sometime in
February.
February was, yeah, so if we make the order in November, they're talking about sometime in February that we receive, and that we would be able to, then we'd have to pay in full after they receive and accept the receipt of them. So that gave us some time. I know that the financing that they were offering was in the neighborhood of 4 or 5%. I'm guessing if we really wanted to do something, we could go to Wolf River and get something a hell of a lot cheaper than that.
4.43%.
It was.
It would add an additional $3,400 a year.
Right. So
over a 5-year period.
And again, in this 48 and change, just for ease of in your head, it's a 60-40 split between Hortonville and Hortonville.
Correct.
So we know that we're not, Hortonville is not responsible for the 148. They're responsible for 60% of that. At the meeting that we had back on September 11th, Hortonville was represented, and they expressed the fact that their board has also approved this. So this went through committee, everything has been approved. I wanted to bring it and get it in front of everybody so that we had time to do whatever we need to do in order to get this thing squared away, because we don't have a big money tree in the back that we can shake and $80,000, $90,000 for.
But the total of 148 could be reduced by grants.
I know that
If we're
I know
successful.
that the fire department has looked at the grants. I know that Jack and Kyle?
Yeah, for at least the last 5 years, we've tried for grants and we've been unsuccessful.
Unfortunately, that is the hardest grant to achieve.
Right.
In any of my past grant writing experience, I'll go on record and saying they're nearly impossible.
Yeah.
The one that I have located is more of a local, seems to be more user-friendly, and it's dealing with firehouse subs, like your actual submarine sandwich shop.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And they tend to be more of a local, hands-on type of grant opportunity.
Okay.
So that's the latest one I put to the chief's attention in the mailbox, and I'm hoping that he gets it back. It's an October 29 deadline.
Okay. The only question I guess I had, I apologize, I was not at the meeting when we discussed this, and I downloaded now as much as I could so that we could get at least in front of the board, is where does the purchase order come from? Does it come from us? Does it come from, I mean, who's actually putting the paperwork in front of these people to get the order rolling?
What's that?
Who puts who issues the purchase order to, what's the company again, Dave?
5-alarm?
Yeah, 5-alarm.
We do.
You do that? Okay. All right, so I mean, I guess the question then would be, is there something that we need to do in order for them to just go ahead and do that, or where are we at?
It's in the budget, right?
It's in the budget. Anything that, again, past history, because it hasn't happened in my tenure here, but in past history, anything to the tune of, that I've ever worked with in excess of 100,000, you basically have to bond and show responsibility that you can basically pay for it,
Okay.
and then the order initiates.
Okay.
Whether it be from my desk or the fire department's desk.
Okay.
So what do we need tonight? A motion to
Yeah. Authorize
authorize them to purchase?
I'll make that motion to authorize the fire department to purchase the fire packs from 5-alarm for $148,309.
309.
I'll second that.
Let's have a roll call for this for.
Aye.
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 Okay, unauthorized. Next is the award of contract, Brookwood Drive and Pine Street construction.
I think on the memo I handed out, I have on there a presentation and award of the winning bid for the construction of Brookwood Drive extension project along with the Pine Street water main replacement and paving project, both of which are going to probably take place next year, right, Ryan?
Yeah, the Pine Street for sure,
Yeah.
the Brookwood Estates thing, probably right after deer hunting, right after Thanksgiving, I know the Blondes weather hold.
I've got a motion written down, but I want Ron to look at it, see if that's right. We received 3 bids, right? And 4 bids. I wanted to point out that Ryan did a great job, or Parker Excavating on their bid. They put their money where their mouth is, so.
Always cheapest here we're gonna get her.
So, kudos to Parker Excavating. They did all right. So anyways, I'm looking, is that okay, Ron?
Yeah, here, let me just jump in. So on September 11th, we bid the contract as a combined contract for Brookwood Drive and Pine Street combined together. We've got 2 bid schedules, but it's one contract. Okay, so it may be unnecessary to split it apart to identify the two individual pieces. The low bidder was MCC Inc. Their utility subcontractor is Parker. So that's Parker's involvement, but the contract will be with MCC Inc. if you approve it. The total bid is $327,986.28. I'm going to use round numbers. $245,000 of that is Brookwood. $82,000 is the Pine Street part of the project. I think you had budgeted 90 and change or something for Pine. So both of the numbers are, in the area that we expected, or actually a little bit better than we probably expected on Brookwood. So the numbers are in order in terms of what the village is anticipating and spending. Again, we did have 4 bidders on it. MCC is the low bidder at $327,986.28. So somewhere, Gene, there'll be a notice of award that we sent out 2-3 weeks ago. And if you choose to award the contract, you just have to sign and date that, and then we get the contracts going back at our office, so. I'd like to add some comment to this. In light of what's happened at the public hearing tonight, would it be wise for us to break these 2 out separate from what you've just discussed? In other words, leave Brookwood Drive off until we come to some conclusion as to whether it should proceed or not? There's some concern out there.
I don't believe so, because the concerns they had for what we could do for them could be separate of awarding the contract. I mean, we can still award the contract and still do the other parts that were discussed.
I heard some comment that they didn't want this to happen at all. I'm just throwing it out there.
We've heard that for a long time, but
Fair enough.
we've gone along and
I know it's
gotten to
been
this point, so.
It's been a long road, I know.
If I could just clarify, just so that everybody understands the process. So, when the notices, a couple meetings ago, you set everything in motion in terms of the public hearing and all of that. So, that directs me to prepare the preliminary engineering report. So in this report, it identifies the costs, and it's using the actual bid amounts. There still is some contingency dollars. I don't have my spreadsheet here. I don't remember. I think it's 12% that I have built into this. So there's a 12% contingency that exists on top of this. So if everything goes right, that contingency would come off. At the conclusion of the project, when we have all of the final costs, because it's 9 months out probably by the time we're done with the curb and gutter and the paving and all the rest. So then I take all of the final project costs, put them back into the spreadsheet, and I present a final engineering report. So anytime between now and, say, next July, or whenever the paving's done, you can direct me to do whatever you wish with the final report. You could make it 0 if you choose to do so. So you can't exceed the number that's issued in the preliminary engineering report without having another public hearing, but you can always go down, and it will go down. It always does routinely, and that the contingency often isn't used. So we expect the number's going to naturally come down, but if you want to chip more in or have more negotiations or something, that's
that's certainly available anytime between now and when I issue the final report next summer.
So
Thank you.
You're telling me you got about $40,000 in contingency in this thing?
Well, this report is dealing only with the Brookwood Drive portion of the job, which is $245 in construction costs, so 12% would be 28 grand or something.
About 30 grand. I mean,
Yeah.
we've taken soil borings and everything, and we know it.
We did not take soil borings.
So we don't know what we're going into.
Yeah, I mean, it's native ground.
I'll say.
I mean,
Well, it's sand.
the contractor that did the job put in thousands of feet all in the neighborhood, so I'm assuming that they probably have a pretty good handle on what they're dealing with, so. It's pretty much on top of the hill. So, yes, there are contingency dollars, but it's more on the order of maybe 28,000 or something that's built into this spreadsheet at this point.
But that 28,000, just so that I'm clear, that 28,000 is reflected in the assessment that's happening?
Yes. Right, and now keep in mind that the majority of that, the majority of the assessment is not to the plat or the property owners within the Parker subdivision. The TIF is assuming half the costs. Parkers are being assessed $100,000. There's another property owner that's paying a.
I just need to know what's being assessed.
On a percentage basis, the 20, you probably shouldn't look at it as the 28,000 that'll flow directly to the.
Well, portion of it is going to be assessed across the board on how this is being
Right.
given.
And it may be in the vicinity of the 10 that was being discussed here, because it's probably about a third of the project cost is the lot owners out in the original subdivision, so it'd be in that ballpark.
Okay. Thank you.
If there's no more discussion, we would need a motion to award the contract.
I'll make the motion to award the contract. Where is the?
Just award the part A and B.
Motion to approve, motion to approve the MCC contract Part A for 245,048.84 and Part B 82,937.44.
Second that?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Next, we have well number 2, rehabilitation.
Yeah, sometime back I talked to the board about plans for having the pumps at well 2 pulled, inspected, repaired, possibly put back in. But in the interim, before we could get that done, we've had some issues with well 1 that require immediate repair. So well 1 turned out to have, and if you read the report, it turns out there was an issue with the water column. That's basically the shaft going down underground. We have hard water here, there was manganese, iron, and all kinds of buildup on there. And what that was doing was restricting the water flow. So we were getting close to sucking air into the pumps, and that of course would probably destroy the assembly. So we got that column cleaned up, all new pumps, new shafts, new column, everything rebuilt. The well itself rehabilitated through a cleaning process using chlorine and some other chemicals. When they inject it and they blast it with air. Anyways, well 1's up and should be up and running tomorrow. And I wanted to turn my attention back to well 2. Basically, I want to do the same thing to that. This is actually a good year to do it since the Pine Street project's being pushed off till next year. I have money to pay for it right now. So what I'm looking to do is I'm going to get another quote and bring a couple quotes into the board next time. Well 1 was more of an emergency to get fixed, but they're likely to come in the same price, anywhere from $24,000 to $28,000 to rehab the well. There's only a few companies up here that do it, but again, I'm not looking for a vote tonight, but I just wanted you to know that we're going to look at rehabbing well 2. I don't know if anybody have any questions about wells. We did both wells probably 10, 11 years ago, so it's about time. Well 1 kind of snuck up on us because we thought we had an equipment failure that was giving us false readings, but it's actually the well itself that was production was going way down. So it needed it, they both need it, and they're ready, so. And we have the money, and we don't have to take out a loan or anything for it, or put it on the ratepayers' backs. We might as well, since we pushed off Pine Street project in an effort to reduce costs to the assessment, to help bundle that package, we're sitting on the money, we might as well fix our wells while we got a chance. And like I said, I'll get one more quote, and I'd like to get going on that pretty soon, so. So at the next board meeting, be expecting a couple of quotes and a motion to approve one of them. That's it.
Any questions or comments for Carl on this? Hearing none, we'll move on to cemetery software update.
That has been something that's been in the works for quite a few years. Back when Lynn was here, Nathan has gotten 3 proposals from 3 different companies. And basically, it's replacing our current cemetery, this is our current cemetery mapping system. Kind of antiquated, kind of hard to keep on top of. The proposal that we really like, you'll see the spreadsheet in your packet. The proposal that Nathan liked and I liked was the Sumify. Some of the other ones had options that we would never utilize. Too fancy, basically, for the village of Hortonville. The total cost is $19.90, and that includes, we send them this information, they do the mapping, we can put a link on the website, and then there's just a yearly $790 fee. Nathan's the expert on if anybody has any questions, because he's been listening to the webinars, but it's an awesome, I think it'd be great for bookkeeping. We can print the deeds for the cemetery right out of there, so.
And what is the cost for this?
The cost, $19.90, $1,990.
And Jane, you said there's a yearly cost of this as well?
Yep, that's the $790.
There is a fund though, correct?
There is a fund, there is money set aside for this, so it's been in the works for quite a few years.
Nathan, is this something that anybody could go, like, for example, I know you contacted me with research on some cemetery stuff, and I physically go up there and look and take pictures. So is this something that, like, anybody from out of state could pull this up and they could find
They wouldn't have pictures most likely, but you would be able to find all the information. We can basically customize what we want on there and what the public can see.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could do, family or whatever, obituaries or whatever we really wanted to do.
That would be helpful, because I know that's a lot of work for you guys to even sift through some of those old records too. And I watched you on the computer the other day. That was pretty crazy.
So are we looking for a motion to approve this? Is that-
No, I think we'll,
Next week or
the next meeting. I just wanted you to be aware that we are seriously looking at this.
Why don't you go ahead and do it?
Yeah, we've definitely needed it for years.
It's on the agenda, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say,
I was just gonna say, why wait?
Yeah. It's something we've needed. I will make a motion that you go ahead with this cemetery software. I'll second that.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. You've got your software.
Thank you.
Ordinance creating consent agenda.
You want to take that, Dave?
Absolutely. I believe it was in your packet, and from what I was told, I believe this was at a voluntary, I believe the village board has elected to go to this type of agenda for the last 2 meetings. At the talk of Russ Van Gompel was the interim. Essentially, for those of you who don't know, a consent agenda expedites the meeting process, makes it easier, quicker, and it basically bunches and groups issues that really have anything that would have to come to a vote. So it's just an organizational tool for the committee.
Yeah, basically it's what we did at the start here where we had listed the 3 of them and approved that. And we had that at the start of the meeting.
So what Russ has done is he had produced, it's in your packet, there's a consideration, and then he revised the ordinance, so that would have to be officially approved.
Then is O-12-18.
So we're looking just for approval on O 12, 18, or is this consideration have something to do with it as well?
It would just be, that's just I think moving forward, and he also produced that consideration piece there. So when something new comes to a consideration before the board, it's another housekeeping memo essentially what. So he has produced that corresponding ordinance change, and that would need to be approved, and then it can be codified.
In order to keep the consent agenda, we need to approve.
Have you seen this, you're good with it?
Yeah, although 1 and 2, should those be switched around? On the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, because we always do the pledge before.
Right.
I'll make it,
Yeah, as amended.
I'll make the motion to approve O 12, 18 with the amendment that Bob points out that 1 and 2 should be switched.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Agenda here. Use of water and sewer extension fund.
I'll take that one. I mean, that was on the last agenda, I was out of state, and you guys authorized me to use the water and sewer extension fund, which is a village general fund, and paying some of these invoices that are trickling in regarding the Michael Ricker project. I think because of the public hearing and the efforts of some of the citizens out there, maybe we should give some thought about using those funds to reduce the assessment. It's up to you, but it's certainly an option that these funds that are coming in and we're paying for, or these invoices that are coming in and we're paying for them out of this fund, maybe we can exclude them from the final assessment. Totally up to you, but those are options. I just wanted you to know that. So.
How much is in that fund, you know? If you don't know it off the top of your head.
$62,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But some of that is going towards the upsizing cost of the loop.
Yeah.
And the extension of that. I've used some of it to pay some of the invoices that came in for preliminary engineering and preliminary assessment reports.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that's an option that would help these people out if we utilize those funds. And they're already taxes, basically taxes people pay already, so.
I mean, that's what we said we were gonna do.
Yeah, and we kind of promised them. Kind of, we did. So, anyways, I don't need any action on that, I just wanted to be aware of that source of money that may help.
Okay, thank you.
You know, unless the board would want to, on basis of what the public hearing said, to bring that forward to use those funds to reduce their assessment.
But you won't know how much that is until you've paid.
Well, if it was up to me, I would just use those funds to pay these engineering invoices that come in. And once the project starts, select that as the starting point for the assessment. Because those are just project costs, the $245.
Yeah.
So that would significantly reduce the assessment. Everybody's, not just them, but Parker's, everyone's.
Are we gonna need to sit down and go through all that sooner than later? Figure out how to do that?
I think we'll have to make it official.
Right.
It's not,
No, I mean, what I'm saying, Carl, is should there be a committee meeting that goes through this to figure this out?
or at least a committee of the whole to discuss, you know,
Okay.
when do we want to go all the way back to the beginning when we did the
Well,
total?
no, what we need to do in the committee of the whole is I think we need, and I don't want to put the onus on you, but what we need to do is have a longer list of what we can do and what we can't do. You know, here are our options, here's what we can do, here are the ways that this can happen. And kind of the way we, when we were sitting down with these guys, and we had all of the things that we could do and we couldn't do, and we came up with a solution. I just think that's the...
I think, yeah, now that we got David on board here, I think we'll have to entertain Parker's request for assistance as
I
well.
think we need to, yeah, that's what we said we were gonna do, so.
Now, would you do this as the invoices come in, or we would just do a one-time authorize you to?
Well, you've already authorized me to use that to pay some of these funds that are trickling in.
I think
we need to set a plan
Yeah,
together.
I think that's what I'm going, we need to get specifics from Carl.
I've got a committee the whole schedule for the next meeting,
Let's just talk about that.
probably half
If you have
hour.
safety meet, safety
I
committee
was
meeting.
going to, yes. I didn't get it out yet.
Well, we can, this doesn't happen to happen, we'll take care of it, but it doesn't happen to happen next meeting. But we do need to do it, sometime this fall, yeah, I guess.
Because I know Peter was going to set up a
Public safety.
public safety meeting at our next one, so.
Well, that's probably
The first one in November, then.
I was here for that already.
Yeah, nobody else was though. Yeah, I think we should put a committee of the whole together just to discuss the options, put a plan of attack,
Exactly, that's what we have to do.
realizing all the considerations and concerns out here.
So do you want to do that on the next board meeting, or?
The
The first one in November.
Yeah.
First
5:30
Yeah, because have your safety one at the next board meeting,
at 5:30.
and then the first one in November for is,
Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that. And I can get together a list of invoices and vouchers and all that good stuff that we paid to date, and what we expect between now and project start time.
Next round meeting.
Yeah, number one.
any more on this water and sewer extension fund? Hearing none, we move on to R-14-18 budget transfer amendment.
I was directed to do this based on the account funds transfer that I got from the library.
Can I speak to that?
Sure.
I guess what we wanted to make clear as per the library board is that the library budget is kind of, it's separate in a lot of ways. The library board itself controls that and the decisions moving things from line to line. The village decides how much is given to the library, but the library board is a separate entity and makes those decisions. So, and Ally can help me here if I'm not speaking to this correctly, but she provided 4358, chapter 43 is what is the jurisdiction for the library boards in the state, and talking about the library board shall have exclusive control of this expenditure of all monies collected, donated, or appropriated for the library fund and of the purchase of a site, and talks about a library building. So I guess from a library board standpoint, and in talking with Ally, it seems like this is not necessary because the library board, in fact, makes these decisions.
I would agree.
Okay.
I agree. It's in chapter 43. Yeah, I mean, that's,
Need to do anything with this?
Right, yeah, per chapter 43.
Okay.
Thank
as long as
you.
you've got record of approving it in your minutes, then,
Yep, it was all approved. Our minutes are to review. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to TID number 2, stormwater discussion.
I'm gonna pass around a few photos. For the longest time, for the last 20-something years, we've never noticed any rainwater in the ditches out in the industrial park. But here, I don't know if the environment's changing, global warming, whatever. The rainfall has gotten, well, it comes down so fast and hard now. As you've noticed, they've had flooding all over the state. One of the issues we noticed, I had sized a 15-inch culvert for Algren explosives, and it's not keeping up with the flows going through there. What I'd like to do is put in an 18 by, well, it's a 24-inch electrical, so it would probably be approximately 18 by 30, and replace their culvert so I can get more flow through there, and I'll utilize their culvert out in our compost site, where we have a detention pond out there. Anyways, it's an issue, it kind of falls on the back of the village. We can't go any bigger with the culvert there due to the the shallowness of the ditch. So I think we told them that 15 was max, but it's probably my fault, so. We should have went bigger, but there was really no way to go bigger unless we went electrical, and I had to think of that at the time, so.
There's one more blacktop out there.
The other option is to dig to the street, my brand new paved street, and I don't want to do that. So I think for now, I think we'll just swap out their 15 for an 18 by 30 electrical, and that should significantly reduce that backup, so. Again, we're not going to be out much because we're going to reuse their existing culvert out in our property. So, I just wanted you to be aware of it. You can shut me down if you want. But again, I apologize. I think I talked around a little bit too. I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but I've never seen water in that ditch out there until recently. So.
Well, you don't need anything from us for this case?
No, I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Okay.
Any other on the stormwater discussion? Hearing none, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
I have a question. Carl, did we ever come up with anything to meet with the school district and the,
For the
youth sports for the...
Yeah. I basically, we're meeting with them tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Informal meeting.
We need to do it as any kind of committee of the whole or anything?
I was gonna schedule one, but I think we'd be further ahead just to meet with them. So the school district's coming over tomorrow to meet with us.
All right.
We're in pretty good shape.
Just don't wanna-
We think we're getting there. I hate for the fact that all the drama played out in the papers and everything, so we're not far apart. We're almost there.
Okay.
We may not even have a meeting for it, other than approve the contract.
Do we have any topics for future discussion? Hearing none, we move on to report of village officials, administrator.
You all have a copy? Again, for those of you who don't know, I'm entering my third week, so it's been an exciting 3 weeks here, starting out with 1,167 emails in the inbox that I've gotten down to. I think there was 15 there when I left for this meeting. A lot of my time has been reaching out to different people and groups. So it starts off with attendance at FCEDCP, which is the Fox City Economic Development Professionals, and also the Fox West Chamber of Commerce. One of my major agendas and initiatives is economic development. So I'm gonna partake in as many of those meetings as I possibly can. So connections were made in both those organizations. On more of an at-home level here, with the help of Russ, we did transfer healthcare this week, so that is all tightened up. Policy number is in force, and we are up and running with our new healthcare insurance as of this week. Lot of work involved with that transfer. So, and then we also are going to continually look for better programs. That's an ongoing process in any municipality. It's just to make sure these increased prices in healthcare coverage. I've also been working with Chris and Russ. The language came back for the police union contract negotiations. Nothing new. Unfortunately, one word in the contract can make or break a paragraph. So we are going through the fine-tooth comb, and we are finalizing that. That is also to be completed this week for the review to the police association. I met with Paul Hentman, the building inspector. I also reached out to some local contractors that I know personally in the area. Wanted to do a little bit of checking on them just to see what their thoughts were in the process. Everybody that I spoke to loved and liked his services, his commitment to the village. However, with the plethora of construction that we feel is going to be coming into the village in the near future with new home construction, commercial, Carl and I discussed the opportunity or possibility that we retain his services and try to get it in-house at least one day a week during the daytime. It would be a benefit to the village and also the contractors working in the village to have his services at a normal 9-ish or 8-ish or 7-ish in the morning till 5 p.m. So he is going to potentially work with New London to see if he could free up one day to be available here to the village of Hortonville. I also met with Accurate Appraisal today. We did receive a quote for Bomar Appraisal Services. This is for all the village assessment. Per your suggestion, any bid that comes in over $5,000, we want to send out for a second bid. So that is in process. And to be fair to them, what I did is I took the bid, I covered the price that it was going to assess for 2019, and I handed him so he can give us a comparative apple-to-apple bid, so he knows exactly what we're looking for and what was suggested by Bomar. So that is in the works also. Carl and I also met this week with MD Roffers. The topic of school and how the district is growing is of concern. So the school district actually hired MD Roffers to do a study of the area to see how they're best fit and how they're going to grow their district. So that was something that they wanted to bring light to the village. It's basically under their radar that in a matter of time they're going to outgrow their facilities, and they're looking for the next steps on how they want to proceed. So they're talking with the village as well. That was a very informative, very mapped out discussion on how we possibly see the village growing in the future with potential plots of land, and then not only commercial districts, but future subdivisions as well. We talked about the Economic Development Committee meeting in the two projects that were approved for the facade loans, so I'll skip on that. I also met with Justin Fisher from Robert Baird. They're a consulting firm, so a lot of, and I said it was very juvenile for me to be able to discuss that with him. I've worked with Baird in the past. I've also worked with Taylors and Associates. At this time, I said I need to get myself more situated before I can really talk in depth with him on major programming and financing changes for the village. So that one, it's good to note that I had him as a reference and I have him as a tool, so if we need him, more contacts are always better contacts. Again, like Carl said, we are meeting with the Hortonville School District tomorrow morning. That would be my first reach out to that group of people. I did meet the high school principal today at the chamber meeting. We are also meeting with Eric Foley of the East Central Regional Planning Commission on Monday. There is a technical assistance program that they offer. I'm not going to say it's free of charge, but it's at a reduced rate. They bring in people that I would call their juniors, and they solicit work from municipalities to help train their newly deputized people, their new planners. So what we're looking to do is possibly work with them in setting up boundary agreements for future annexations of all our neighboring municipalities. That's something that's very important to growth for the village. And then having seen a few minor language issues, I started a deep dive on the village personnel manual to see that was already started. I believe it was in 2016. So there's been a lot of updates and language changes in that manual. What I'm going to do is take it to the next level, and I'm hoping by the end of the year I can reset those changes and put it before the village committee as a vote to move forward in 2019 with a newly approved personnel manual. So again, one word means a lot in those types of sentences and paragraphs. So it just needs to be cleaned up. Thank you.
Any questions for Jim? Hearing none, we move on to clerk treasurer.
The server installation is complete. Everything is being backed up nightly. Myself, Libby, and Lisa attended a two-day symposium for the Casell Connect, which is the new accounting software. That software is being used. Libby printed checks on it before she left the other day, and it's working fabulous. The capabilities are endless. It's very refreshing of what we can do. That was my next sentence. You're excited about the capabilities. Cash receipting training is coming next week, so that will be a program where we can enter it and it goes right into the Casell, right into the accounting software. Right now we're handwriting receipts and printing, they get 3 copies and it's a little antiquated, so that will be wonderful. Nathan has completed his whiz vote training in the statewide voter registration system, so he's working in there. He's going to be entering voters, issuing absentee ballot labels. That was many hours of webinars. And I'm going to visit the care partners and go over voter registration and absentee ballots tomorrow. For anybody there that wants to do that.
Is Pinewood also a stop you're going to make? I don't know how.
I haven't set anything up, but I could.
Right over here, that'll be another possibility.
Because there are rules with voters, if there's 4 or more registered voters at a facility, we are required to send special voting deputies to that facility for absentee voting. So that might be something, as more and more people are moving in up there and they're registered to vote, we provide that service, or you're supposed to, so.
And I guess I have one more question. I think Nathan, somebody talked to you about it. Do you have enough election workers? Are you set, or?
We have about, I think there's 20 right now. So I think we're good. I just sent the letters out today for the November election, depending on how many are going to tell me they're unable, but I think we're good.
Because I know that Jenna at the library board mentioned she was interested, and I think there might have been a couple more I heard from.
Okay. We can always use more workers.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we move on to Public Works Director.
I just have a couple. Just a reminder that Chris, the police chief, the building inspector, and I will be attending the 2018 debris management tabletop exercise with the county on the 16th. I also, we had someone file a claim against the village property damage claim. We had a leaky meter in the basement of Benchmark Development apartment buildings over there. I'm expecting that to be in the hundreds of dollars. Nothing serious, it's just, there is gonna be a claim involved. And we will be expanding our weekend hours for the compost drop-off site this fall. We're updating the signage down there so it's a little more clear to understand, and so far, illegal dumping has dropped off significantly. I know it's kind of a pain for our residents, but something had to be done, so. And we're also continuing to have sporadic email issues related to Charter Spectrum. Not all the time, but sometimes we don't get emails we're supposed to get. In fact, I never got one from the school district administrator. It never showed up. He kind of got a little ticked, not ticked, but he wondered why I didn't reply because I never got it. And that's unacceptable for a village. So if it keeps happening, it would be an immense amount of work to switch all our domains and everything over to like AT&T. But if it keeps up, I don't think we have a choice. I've tried complaining to Charter. I might as well talk to that floor outlet. You know? But we have to do something as a village. So we can't continue to have that. That's all I have.
Any questions for Carl? Hearing none, Library Director?
I just have a couple things. Our programming is coming up this month. We have, again, a Harry Potter Fest that we're doing. We've named it Magical Muggle Fest for ages 12 and up, with trivia, games, snacks, crafts, all kinds of stuff. We've got some pretty awesome flyers going around. We have Ghost Hunters coming on the 31st, right on Halloween, to present some of their tales and show some of the equipment that they use, as well as trick or treat at the library. So the Friends of the Library has graciously offered to supply the candy, so people can come into the library and trick or treat essentially at the library. We had 41 new patrons sign up for library cards in September, which is higher than any of our summer months, and summer is considered our busiest time. So for that to be even higher in September is fantastic. Our new hours went into effect on Monday, so we are open earlier at 9 a.m. each day, with the exception of closing a little bit earlier on Mondays and Tuesdays to allow for that earlier opening. And so far we've had very few phone calls, very few issues with that. So marketing well enough in advance really helped with that process. Other than that, we've been weeding out a couple hundred old and unused books and materials from our library. We're working on refreshing the collection to make everything relevant and up to date.
Any questions for Ally? Now we move on to attorney.
Just one thing to report, the Douglas Street lawsuit is pending, and time for answering is come next Monday. And no responses have been received up to this point in time, so I'll have more to report the next meeting. That's all.
Any questions for Bob? Building permit report is in your packet. Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, we'll move on to communication and miscellaneous business. Blackout Lake District news, we really have nothing to report other than David is going to help the district with the grant for a new harvester.
I was able to write a grant last year in the city of Delafield. Wisconsin DNR has a matching grant, so with $86,000 as the expected cost to the Lake District, we potentially could receive $43,000 back to help offset the costs. I told Al that, working for the Blackout District, it may be in the best interest to also have some ramifications to the village, and then see some in-kind sharing, whether it be park and rec or something else. That lake has a lot of meaning to the village, so it's just as important that we work together on that program as well. So there's no guarantees, but however, with the minimal lake frontage or lakes available or even present in Allegheny County, I think it's a really good opportunity that we spend a little bit of time to write that grant. It's not a very hard grant. I actually solicited some of my contacts in Delafield, so I'm going to try to get as much of the paperwork that I put out down there and not reinvent the wheel, but use what I have down there. The verbiage, you basically write a story and tell them what you're looking for and why you need it. So I can just make it appropriate for Hortonville.
Any questions on the Lake District news?
When is the lake cleanup again? I thought,
The lake cleanup is the third Saturday in October.
20th.
The 20th.
9 to 11.
And Mark is thrilled that he's going to get more people this year because as chairman of the Lake District, I've been working with Fox West Academy on some items, and they said that they will bring some students over there to help with the cleanup. And they're also going to bring the school's canoes over there, so they'll have enough canoes for everybody. Any other questions for Lake District? Hearing none, with Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District?
I got nothing.
Golden Cross ambulance report was in our packet last time. Hortonville Civic?
Not at this time.
Senior Activities Committee, you already have your report on that. Comments and suggestions from citizens present?
I have a couple quick things. One is, we were speaking over here, that I just wanted to point out that I forgot to mention earlier, the maps and all the engineering documents and stuff. And I talked to Carl about this, I just wanted to put it on the record that they do still show the connection to Michael Richter. And Carl's told me that it's just utilities that are connecting, but the maps that are released, I just wanted to mention something on here so that if anybody...
I forgot to do that.
Yeah, if anybody is worried about it, because, the stuff is sent out and it's on the city's website, and it shows the connection to Michael Richter, and we told everybody it's not gonna happen. And speaking here, I found that it's still a right-of-way, but it might be useful to annotate on the maps somewhere that this road is not actually going to be there. This is a right-of-way only, and that it doesn't exist anymore. The other thing I was going to mention is I did try to send you an email, because when you emailed me earlier, well, about 2 days later, it came back and it bounced back. But that's why I ended up calling, because I didn't hear from you. But I have a computer business, so I deal with all of the service providers in the area. And Spectrum is usually pretty decent about responding, so my guess is you're getting the wrong people, or you're not communicating at something that they understand as to what's going on.
Well, all they ever say is they're having issues with their email servers.
Yeah, and I know that, but they shouldn't be, they're merging the Time Warner stuff and the Charter stuff, so they're having problems like where my store, in like Anita, where they're switching from Time Warner to Charter. But in this area, we've had Charter forever.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure what they're at, but I would stay on them. As far as the service providers that are in this area, they're probably the most reliable one that I deal with, and I deal with every single one of them on the phone on a weekly basis, and I have a couple of agreements with Spectrum to work with them and dealing with getting businesses on their network. So I do see them a lot, and I see what they do. Everybody else is probably a second tier to them. And they are fairly attentive, so if you're talking to the floor, you're probably, the message that you're trying to convey to them is not being received properly, or you're not getting the right person. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't give up right away. I would get on them a little bit, and...
I just know we had AT&T fiber optics ran into the building.
Yeah.
Already, yeah. We'll try. I'll call them again, but like I said, most of the time it just falls on deaf ears, so.
Just let me know. I mean,
And getting back to your previous point, those are actually property lines.
Yeah.
So they look like roads.
Yeah, no,
It's just property lines.
It's just the perception of what's on
So
the
the
line.
area that we're probably gonna vacate will likely be vacated and turned over to parks.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to get it on the record, so if anybody, I know my phone blows up whenever that goes out and everybody sees, well, the road's still there, how come the road's still there? Well, the road's not really there.
I appreciate that.
What's that?
I appreciate that.
Any other comments or suggestions from citizens present? Hearing none, we move on. We'll need a motion to go into closed session under state statute section 19.851C. Consider employment and/or compensation of public employee.
There's a one there. There's two there. There's one there.
We can only do one at a time.
Oh, okay. So then we have to go in, discuss, come back out, go back in? No. Oh.
They're separate items, or did we discuss it? But just make a motion to go into closed session on both items in the same motion.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session on both items.
And I will second.
Did you want it right now?